week in our collective heads. I'm Kevin.
I'm Patrick.
And there's very little news today, but we're gonna stretch it out because sometimes this is all the hanging out we get to do, and we like to do it on camera because we're into that.
Yeah, we are. We're first players. I don't know what the.
No, we're exhibitionists.
Exhibitionists, yes.
So
I don't know what a voyeur is. I don't know.
Don't worry,
Kids
I know
Google
all
it.
the terms.
Kids Google it. It's okay.
So we're gonna go ahead and kind of kick it off with a little bit of Dark Souls talk. We're gonna discuss areas 1 week at a time.
Yep.
Because we're going through it somewhat slowly, but there's different things that we discover, and as we go through it, one of the great things about it is just discovering the lore and piecing together things that we hadn't been able to figure out before.
Yeah.
So this week we're going to talk about the Cemetery of Ash and Ludex Gundyr.
Yep.
And just kind of that area, basically everything leading up to Firelink Shrine.
Exactly.
And then, because Firelink Shrine would be an entire section
we
all
did
on
a
its
whole
own.
section of that. We did a whole section of the high wall and everything. So we'll do one at a time.
Yeah, and plus, like, as you go through the game, more characters are drawn to Firelink Shrine. So discussing it at first, we would have to like piece it together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Cemetery of Ash.
Mm-hmm.
It starts off. You rise from a grave underneath the massive trees, and the graves actually look very similar to in the opening cinematic. They showed the Farron
Keep.
Right, but what are the Guardians called?
The Abyss Watchers.
Yes, the Abyss Watchers rising from similar graves, and so. So yeah, there's just kind of an atmosphere getting back to the whole undead thing, but now we're unkindled.
Now you're unkindled,
which is chosen undead. We're special.
Yep. Miyazaki actually just talked about that last week in a Taiwanese report. I'll hopefully be able to link that here.
Okay.
But they asked, what is the difference between unkindled and hollow? Mm-hmm. And he said, all of the unkindled, every single one of the unkindled, are people who tried to link the first flame and failed.
Really?
So you are a failure.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Obviously.
Until you beat the game, and sometimes after you beat the game, you are a failure.
Yes, it's true. So it kind of adds a little more depth to it. Now we've been in a world that's been in existence. They've had this cycle quite a few times.
Yeah.
There's another bit that is in the intro. I think we should talk about that as well, because they mention in the intro video that the bell has been rung that will awaken the previous Lords of Cinder, okay, which is who you're fighting in the game. But if you remember in Dark Souls 1, you had to ring a bell to enter.
The 2 bells of awakening.
Yes. So are we talking about the same bells?
I don't know, because there's a tower. It's later on. There's a tower that's fallen and looks like one of those bells, and so I feel like if that was the bell that woke us up, that's at least one bell that definitely didn't.
I was going to say there's also a now that the structures and everything look a little different, but there's actually a bell in Cathedral of the Deep that looks very similar to the bells in the other game.
Well, I haven't gotten there, so that would be 2 bells.
But there is a bell, and I tried to hit it with an arrow and it didn't do anything. I was hoping I'd get a little ding sound effect or something.
Well, coming back to the Cemetery of Ash, because we are. It talks about us being unkindled, and we are ash, not even worthy to approach basically the Lords of Cinder, which is weird because, I mean, we're the failed Lords of Cinder, but at one time we were more than that.
Yep.
And like one of the really fun things about the Cemetery of Ash is the giant crystal lizard, which is a lizard that consumed the crystals, and that's lore from one of them. The Ludex Gundyr fight is really fun because it kind of introduces. There have been bosses that had different phases and things, but I feel like in Bloodborne it was a much more distinct line.
Yeah.
You know, you hit this point and the boss deliberately changes. There's a pause. There's a transmogrification. There's a visible physical change, and I feel like that by doing that with the very first fight, that they introduce, okay, this is how fights work now, and as they always do, they don't tell us the mechanics. They show us in ways that are like, okay, learn this, learn this, learn these.
Yep. Yep.
And
doesn't tell you about them. It just shows you.
Yeah.
You got to figure it out.
And so, okay, so if you come around Ludex before you wake him or it up, then he's got that thing on his back that later becomes more.
Yeah.
And I'm really
darkness, if you will.
Yeah, and I'm really curious what that is.
Yeah.
And what it's going to mean, because that a lot of times when we're talking about relinking the fire, it's the fire is slowly dying. This seems like darkness is much more of an active participant and wanting to take over.
Yeah.
In the same way that from the time of the ancients, I mean, we deliberately, we didn't, because it was thousands of years before Dark Souls 1, but humanity took over from the dragons, from the ancient powers, and then the transition. It makes sense that brings in the Age of Fire. The Age of Fire repeats itself, but for it to actually end, for everything to solidify into a new age, a new coming, there will be a takeover from what is to come, the power that will be.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that the darkness is meant to represent. My biggest question is in that fight, if you look, okay, you've got the cliff on one side, Ludex in the middle, and then if you look up, there's a giant freaking coffin. Whose coffin is that? I don't know yet, but I'm looking forward to finding out.
I don't either, so if it makes it only better.
Yeah, and like just the way that it's set up, and I also think that we're on the back end of the high wall. Like, because when you look, you can see.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be the high wall is basically because Lothric's castle is basically built vertically, and they tunneled down, but everything is compacted, and so I think that this is the very back of the high wall, and I haven't really found a place to look that direction.
Yeah.
Because usually most of what you get to see is forward toward the undead settlement, towards redacted.
Yeah.
And so, because you don't really get a view of it from that side, and you warp, that's irritating to me. I want to walk everywhere. But once you get to Firelink Shrine, you warp to the first place.
Yeah.
But I think that is actually Lothric Castle.
Yeah, I
from
think so.
From the other side. I do really enjoy just the views, though. It's so pretty.
Yeah.
It's so pretty. And yeah.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous game. I think we should talk a little bit about Firelink Shrine. I think maybe every episode we'll talk a little bit about it. I don't know. We're playing it by ear.
Okay.
So the first person that you meet, or the first person that I met, was the Firekeeper, right? And exactly. And she's the one who you level up with, and you can, if you get the tower key.
Which you should.
You should get the tower key. So, I guess at this point, if you haven't, spoilers, but you unlock the tower, go up, and if you ride up and you find it's the
Firekeeper outfit and the Firekeeper soul.
Yeah. You find the Firekeeper's outfit if you go down. Firekeeper's soul is
way up on top of the tower, on the body of a failed Firekeeper.
So if the Firekeeper's outfit was thrown into the pit, and all of the bodies are down there as well, I think it gives a good idea of how long this has been going on, because there's just piles of previous Firekeepers, is what I assume.
Well, and it also. I don't know if you've ever been to, because like there are cemeteries where you have all the bodies laid out and everything, and then there are more like memorials where there's like walls and rows and columns of coffins, and that's what it reminded me of. That's what it looks like when you're jumping down.
I was gonna say, to me, maybe it started that way, but then why would you have? It's
fallen into disrepair.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Sure. I was gonna say it either fell in disrepair, or people were just lobbing them off of the tower. I don't know. I mean, because you have the one that's just sitting there, unless that was a coffin that broke open.
Well,
I guess it's kind of...
No, because her soul is up on the very top, right in the middle of the
but
tower. The outfit is down in a corner.
Yeah.
And so I can see that could have been a body.
So I don't know if people threw them into the pit when they were done, or
some of the coffins are broken.
Maybe.
There's a lot of maybes there.
Yeah, it gives a good amount of idea of the scope of time we're talking about here, and even then, that's just this shrine that's been opened.
Well, one of the it also kind of leads back to there's a lot of mystery around the Firekeepers, and if they are absorbing humanity, which is life force, they are catalysts for absorbing the souls, the humanity, and transforming it into power, basically. And so we don't really have a good idea of the lifespan of someone who is engaged in that, or what happens to them.
That's a good point.
If there are, because if the Unkindled are failed Lords of Cinder, or whatever we are, we don't know that whether they serve one Unkindled, whether they serve a Lord of Cinder, and then what happens to them after when the credits roll.
Sure.
What happens to the Firekeeper?
Yeah.
And we know that there are those who quest to become Firekeepers, and we'll talk more about that later. But one of the things that she says when you give the Firekeeper the soul, she says, "I'm sorry for this, my sister," and then turning and talking to you, I know she would understand.
Yeah.
And so I think that gives us a little bit of insight into what it is that they want. They do crave the humanity, and they are too stuck in a cyclical role, because she is able to absorb the soul of a previous Firekeeper and add it to her own power. Because at that time, after you give her that, she's able to heal the Dark Sigil. Exactly. So by absorbing, she absorbs soul, she's able to give you power. She absorbs a Firekeeper's soul, she's able, to heal the Dark Sigil. And what does it mean? Yeah.
Also, if you plan to do the Yol quest line, do not have her heal your Dark Sigil.
That's 27,000 souls for vanity.
I did it.
I know.
37, I think.
37? I thought it was 27.
37 for me, I think. I have it recorded, so I can. Yeah,
I can watch as I make this mistake.
I did it. I made the mistake, and I guess I assumed because I'd gotten through Yol and now was talking to Uriah, and I guess I assumed I'm good with that.
Yeah.
But no. Because now she will not talk to you.
Nope,
she won't even talk to you.
Well, but she
says, "You have disgraced da 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 da," and that's it. And it irritates me.
I don't know why you didn't see that coming. She adored you for this reason, and for this reason only. Yeah. That's why she's there to serve you. We'll talk more about other people that show up, and we'll probably come back to that.
Just wanted to warn people about that, because I did that out of vanity. I was like, I'm tired of looking at this husk of a man.
I want to be pretty again. Briefly, before we finish this off, since we are talking about the initial Firelink shrine setup, I want to hit briefly on Andre the Blacksmith.
Yes.
Okay. Is that Andre the Blacksmith, or is it an Andre the Blacksmith, do you think? Because there's no reference to his previous self that we've encountered before, but he doesn't. I mean, I don't see why he would have been special enough to come from that time to this.
The only one that we've seen from that time. I don't know, but I will say I've watched videos of people trying to kill him.
Oh yeah?
And he just keeps pounding away at the mallet. You can eventually do it, but he just doesn't. And then he won't sell to you or do anything. He won't. You can't.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So, I don't know if that was just a way that they assumed people wouldn't kill him, so they didn't put any animation in there, or if he is. Well, I mean, not immortal, but that hardy.
Yeah. Well, he is, because there are people who do no level runs or whatever.
Yeah.
But but I mean, he does all the flask stuff and whatever. Like, he's an important character, and I was a little disappointed with him in general, because like he's there and useful for a lot of things. When you give him Cole, he has dialogue animations or whatever. But when you switch to when you switch to the Ashen Flask, or when you give him a shard, he's just like keeps pounding. Like, and I feel like
even a small bit of dialogue saying, "Oh, you found another shard," something.
Yeah. And then the last character that's there right when you show up is the handmaiden at the shrine, the little old lady.
Yeah.
And she's looking for ashes, and that's kind of her objective. That's her. It's her gameplay mechanic, but what she wants is, as far as I've been able to tell at this point, I believe that that she wants the ashes for memorial's sake. I think that she believes that that there is actually value to those who have passed.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not going to argue with her, because when you give her that, then she is able to produce more things.
Yeah.
And the other thing about her is that she is actually surrounded by urns, and I haven't noticed if those increase.
I haven't noticed either. Let's see if I can find out. But it makes me wonder why does giving her ash let her produce more items? I mean, including keys. It's not like, oh, I have knowledge of this. No, you have, now you have a key.
You have a key.
So
I don't know. They're
I don't think she's trading ash, because I don't think that works that way.
No.
I just think it's kind of a weird thing to unlock.
There have been a couple of elements. I'm really enjoying this game, and it's, for me, it's right up there with Dark Souls 1, but there are areas where I feel like they fell flat, and they just didn't bother to, and that's how I feel. They didn't bother to finish this. There's a lot of quest lines, there's a lot of interesting characters, but there are some who just there's just not anything there.
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
Yeah. After that portion of I guess after you've reached Firelink's shrine, put the sword into the shrine, lighting the bonfire, you can then travel to the high wall. Like you mentioned, kind of annoying that we can't get there.
Yeah.
And annoying that, at least so far, there's not been another area that links up to the shrine.
There absolutely will be, though.
Okay.
I've found two entrances that are not connected to, after you go up and down and come around and everything. There's two entrances that I've found that don't link to anything yet.
Okay.
So I believe that we will get back there.
So so the classic Dark Souls shortcuts that you can.
This door does not open from this side.
just you're gonna read that a lot. Yeah. So the next place up, obviously, is the high wall, which.
And we will go up through all the area of the high wall and up to Vort of the Boreal Valley.
Yeah, we'll talk about Vort as well.
Doge Dog.
Next time.
Doge Night.
and little foreshadowing for next time.
Yeah.
Somehow there's dragons. I didn't know there was going to be dragons alive, so that was cool to see. Anyways, We'll talk to you later. Have a good one.